All right, good morning, everyone. It is November 9th. It's Wednesday morning. We're just approaching 5 a.m. here. I apologize for it being a little bit late. I had a few little technical issues to work through. In terms of course, if you like the videos, be sure to click the like button, hit the subscribe button, and get the notifications for when there are live updates, and you'll get notified. Let's get right to it this morning and talk about our threats. Really haven't changed that much. We still have tropical storm threats from Tropical Storm Nicole. I think I want to push right on into the 4 a.m. advisory because there are a few changes. The first change, and you'll be able to really see the how that change is presented when I show you the satellite loop here. But as of 4 a.m., still a strong tropical storm right on the edge of being a hurricane, but it hasn't strengthened at all overnight. In fact, it's been pretty much a steady state. The pressure's been holding steady, and the winds are still at 70 miles an hour. The speed has picked up a little bit. The motion is west-southwest, and it made a little tiny jog to the left, which, from the perspective of the way the storm is moving, is to the south. Not a big jog, but a little jog. Here is the, you can see the yellow area there. That's the extent of the tropical storm conditions. Of course, on the periphery, those are just the tropical storm, sometimes not sustained as tropical storm. There are lulls here, although these winds are pretty ferocious here on the north side of the system, and I'll show you that in just a second. And the south side of the system, not the extent of the winds doesn't go as far south. It's kind of a lopsided system. Of course, we talk about does the cone matter if you're in or out of the cone when the storm's close? No, because the storm is already crossing Florida in terms of the winds already beginning to cross Florida through the day today. The core of the storm will be crossing Florida tonight. So there is our 1 p.m. position today, and then there's the 1 a.m., so it's after midnight tonight. The red is the possible hurricane conditions. You can see it's really not a large area, kind of just a small area here near and to the north of where the center crosses the coast, and then it will be weakening once it gets on land there slowly, but it'll still be weakening from a hurricane down back to a tropical storm, provided that it does become a hurricane. There you can see the line here, the forecast track. It shifted a little bit to the south, but the forecast points are west and then west-northwest. Could it shift a little more to the south? It might, and because it hasn't strengthened overnight, does that really change things? I don't think so. I think our impacts are going to still be just about the same throughout Florida in terms of what we were talking about yesterday and last night. Is this going to be a Category 2 event? No. What's happened is, and I'll show you more on that in just a second, is the tropical storm rather, has not gotten any better organized overnight. In fact, it's got some wind shear and some dry air working against it. There's the future track right there. You can see it kind of making a turn. Now, there is going to be a storm surge threat on the west coast. Tropical storm warnings now for the west coast because of the likelihood, the expectation that winds will be at least 40 miles an hour with higher gusts. The only places where we don't have tropical storm warnings are in Collier and inland Miami-Dade and mainland Monroe and the Keys, as well as the western part of the Panhandle there and a small little part of north central Florida. The tropical storm watch remains in effect for Metro Miami-Dade. Tropical storm warning and hurricane watch is in effect for Broward. And then hurricane warning, basically Palm Beach up to Flagler there, and includes inland areas of Martin, St. Lucie, as well as Indian River and Volusia. So most of the state, except for far south Florida, Miami-Dade, and the Keys are under tropical storm warnings, and then the area of the hurricane warning there is along the east coast, and the hurricane watch just south of that. There are the storm surge warnings, basically Palm Beach County north up into southeast Georgia, storm surge watch in the Big Bend area with the possibility of winds becoming more southerly. Now in this graphic, it's a timing graphic, but it also shows you the wind direction that's expected as the storm moves along here. So we see basically northeasterly winds. Here we are at 9 a.m. this morning, and the tropical storm conditions are coming on shore. There's noon today, there's 3 p.m. today, and then 6 p.m. and the winds still northerly across much of the state. And the reason we talk about this consideration here is because of the debris left over from Ian. You may want to kind of secure the debris in some way for a north wind here in southwest Florida, as well as a wind becoming more westerly over time. I'll show you that in a second as we go forward into time here. But there are the winds, Miami-Dade becoming more northwesterly, northwesterly also along the west coast, northeasterly north of where the center makes landfall there. And then the winds actually, if the storm center goes south of Port St. Lucie, the winds are going to gradually back, basically from north to easterly there. And you can kind of just, if you picture it, you can almost make out the circulation kind of, right in that general area there. Going forward into time, you can see the winds becoming northwesterly in Tampa, and then southwesterly here in South Florida, Miami-Dade, and Broward. And there we are for noon tomorrow. Now the weather's improving in South Florida and is at its worst through Central and North Florida later tonight and tomorrow. And then finally, as we move on off, there we are Friday morning, very early Friday morning. All right, so here's the big deal, I think, this morning. And this is that we haven't had any thunderstorms blowing up basically in the last 12 hours over the center. Remember, for a tropical storm or a hurricane to strengthen or to maintain itself, it has to have persistent thunderstorms near the center. And we haven't had that. We've got a little blow up of thunderstorms now this morning. That may slowly intensify it, but there is just not a lot of time anymore between where Nicole is now and making landfall tonight for it to strengthen a lot. It's also not as organized because we've got some dry air working into it. I talked about this last night as well. And there's some wind shear now acting on it as well too, but really strong winds here on the south side of it, and dry air kind of getting wrapped a little bit into the system. So that has kind of shut down that intensification process. Once again, it may try to intensify a little bit today, but it's running out of time. It did make a little bit of a jog to the south during the night, and you can kind of see it. Let me zoom in a lot here. You can see those couple points there. So it's moving west-southwest and then kind of made a little bit of a jog there. Is that going to change our overall impacts? I don't think so, because we haven't gotten a more stronger or strengthening type of tropical storm there. And then the ridge, the blocking high, is still in place. It's located right through the southeast U.S., but it's about to be broken down by this big dip in the jet stream that's working its way across the country. In terms of the models, they are all in agreement of a west and then west-northwest motion here. So, and the Hurricane Center's forecast tracks are right in the middle there. Could it wobble a little bit to the south? Yeah, a little bit, but it's at this point, there's just not, even if it kind of continuously wobbles here, that's going to take the center more into Palm Beach County. And that's in the hurricane warning area. And remember, the strongest winds are going to be near the center and north of the center, not to the south of the center. So there are the models continuing this turn to the west-northwest. That's tomorrow morning, and then on to the north there. So when we look at the models like this, remember, we're looking at where the center, that center point is expected to be. And because this is a pretty lopsided storm, everybody in this line and north is going to get the worst of the weather here. And then it's on off to the northeast and gets absorbed. There's the radar this morning, and you can see these bands of showers are moving in. It's just kind of going to be a good day to stay home and watch the coverage here on my YouTube channel. And, of course, I'll give updates on Twitter as well. So that's where we stand this morning. Let me just show you the wind gusts that we've seen this morning also as well. We've had some wind gusts over 50 miles an hour along coastal Palm Beach County, and the buoys offshore have been gusting 40 to 50 mile an hour range as well. The winds over land have not been that gusty overnight, but they will be certainly more gusty tonight over the land. So once again, if you like the videos, be sure to click the like button, click the subscribe button, and get the notifications. The next update will be at 9:30 this morning. It'll be a little more of a comprehensive update. I just kind of wanted to touch base with what's going on here this morning.